Hi, this is Max. I'm making some videos on kind of the basics of poker and my strategy. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to explain the hands. In poker, the goal of the game is to have the best 5 card hand. And there's basically 10 types of hands you can have. These are them in order from best to worst. So the best hand you could possibly have is a royal flush. This ace, king, queen, jack, 10, all of the same suit. So it could be clubs, diamonds, hearts, spades, whatever, but has to be ace through 10, all the same suit. That's the best possible hand. It is very rare. Happens sometimes, but it's rare. Next best is a straight flush. And a straight flush is basically the same thing as a royal flush, but you can be any 5 in a row cards. So this you would call a 7 high straight flush, right? So 7, 6, 5, 4, 3 of hearts, right? It could be 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 of diamonds. It could be queen, jack, 10, 9, 8 of clubs. I don't know. It can be 5, 4, 3, 2 ace. You can have a 5 high straight flush. And if 2 people have a straight flush, the person with the higher straight flush wins. So a 7 high straight flush would be a 6 high straight flush, etc. Next is 4 of a kind. Okay, pretty self-explanatory. 4 the same numbers. This would be 4 of a kind nines. It's oftentimes called quads. So you could call this quad nines. Yeah, okay, and so then moving down, now we're getting into the hands that kind of regularly happen. If you sit down and play poker for a few hours, you will probably see this hand. This is a full house. It's 3 is something, 2 is something else, right? And the way you say this is you'd call this aces full of sevens, because you have 3 aces, 2 sevens, right? If 2 people have a full house, it's the what dictates which full house is higher is who has the higher 3 of a kind. So if I've got 3 aces and 2 sevens, and you've got 3 fours and 2 queens, and you're like, well, my queens are higher than your sevens. That doesn't matter. Your 3 fours. Is that what I said? Whatever. Are playing against my 3 aces, right? And now if you have the same 3 of a kind, like if I have 3 aces and 2 sevens, and you have 3 aces and 2 eights, well, then you'd beat me. This is the tiebreaker if you have the same 3 of a kind. Oh yeah, and by the way, the quads, going back up here, so obviously like 4 tens beats 4 nines. If you have the same exact quads, actually that would be extremely rare. It would have to be on the board. We'll get to that later. If you had these, for some reason, the same exact quads, this 5th card right here is the kicker. That would be the tiebreaker. Okay, moving down. This is a flush. This is any 5 cards of the same suit. They do not have to be in order. They only have to be in order if it's a straight flush. This is just a regular flush. Full house beats a flush. Remember that. A full house is better than the flush. People get that mixed up. And a flush is better than the next hand I'm going to talk about. But the flush, you notate the flush by the highest card, right? So if you have this hand here, king, queen, 8, 6, 4, all diamonds, you have a king high flush, right? If somebody else has like jack, 10, 9, 7, 3, and they're like, well, my jack is higher than your 8, that doesn't matter. It's the highest card. You don't add them up or anything. It's just the highest card. And then if you have the same highest card, then you move to the next card. That's the tiebreaker. If they're the same, then you move to the next one, and so on, right? Okay. Next hand is the straight. This one up here, 6, 5, 4, 3 deuce. So it's just 5 cards in a row. Do not have to be the same suit. If they're the same suit and they're 5 in a row, well, then that's a straight flush, right? But just 5 cards in a row, right? So the highest straight you can have is ace 10, ace 10, queen, jack 10, right? That's the highest. And then the lowest one you could have is 5, 4, 3, 2 ace, right? The ace can be high or low in a straight or in a straight flush. It can't loop around. Like you can't have a straight that's like queen, king, ace, 2, 3. That's not a straight. But once again, you notate the straight by the highest card, right? So you'd say, okay, so this is a 6 high straight. And this would beat a 5 high straight, but it would lose to a 7 high straight, right? Okay. Next hand is 3 of a kind, and self-explanatory, you have 3 of the same card. And the other 2 are not a pair, right? Because if these 2 were a pair, then that would be full house. right? Anyway, so you have three of a kind. So yeah, you'd say, and sometimes called trips. So you could say, oh, I have trip 8s, right? And then, right, so like trip 9s is better than trip 8s, trip 8s is better than trip 7s. If two players have the same trips, both have 3 8s, okay, well then you move on to, your next highest card. That's called your kicker, okay? So this is like trip 8s with a king kicker, okay? If you both have 3 8s and a king, then you move on to, this is the final tiebreaker card. Okay, next hand is 2 pair. Self-explanatory, it's 2 pairs, right? So yeah, you got in this case, you have 2 10s, 2 2s, and a jack. Similar to the full house over here, it's the higher pair. Well, not quite. Hi, cat. My cat wants to say hi. The higher pair is what determines how good the hand is. So, like if you, for instance, this hand is 10s and deuces, right? Well, if somebody else has 9s and 4s, and they're like, well, my 4s are higher than your 2s, that doesn't matter. It's the highest pair that matters, right? Okay. And then, of course, if you have the same 2, right? So, like, if you both have pair of 10s, but then the other guy has a pair of 3s, you have a pair of 2s, okay, then pair of 3s beats the 2s because this is a tie. And then if that's a tie, you move to the final card, right? Okay, really simple, 1 pair. There you go, pair of jacks, ta-da. Pair of jacks beats a pair of 10s, pair of 10s beats a pair of 9s, so on and so forth, right? Ace is high. In all these hands that are pairs, the ace is the highest, right? The ace can only be low for purposes of a straight. Anyway, if you have the same pair, this is your kicker, right? And then you move on to the next card and the next card, right? So if you had 2 jacks, so you have 2 jacks and a 10, and the other guy has 2 jacks and a king, he's got you beat, right? Okay, and then this is just, you basically have nothing. This is high card. So you'd call this, in this instance, king high, right? And king high beats queen high beats jack high, etc. Okay, if you and the other guy both have a king as your high card, then you move on to the next one, and then the next one, and the next one, and the next one, right? That's kind of how all of these hands that are some variant of pairs, pair, 3 of a kind, 2 pair, all that. The highest card is the one that matters, and then you move on to the next one if that's a tie, right? So yeah, that's all the hands. Most of the hands are some form of pairs, 2 pairs, having the same card, right? That's pair, 2 pair, 3 of a kind, full house, and quads. Like half the hands are something like that. And then the other hands are, you have 5 in a row, or you have all the same suit, or both, right? But yeah, like I said, in a typical game, you'll frequently see, not frequently, but you'll commonly see a full house. Quads are kind of like, oh, hey, something happened. And then a straight flush or a royal flush is pretty rare. So yeah, that's the hands in poker.